Hey everyone, it's Matthew here at Midland Pictures. We're diving back into a Final Cut Pro 10 tutorial. I've got 9 tips to help you level up your editing game as you continue to master Final Cut Pro 10. So I've got Final Cut Pro 10 open and we're in the project for the short documentary that I produced called The Toy Maker. It's just easy to do some of these tutorials through an existing project, especially one that was an actual edit that I put together and has all of the sort of the basic components of an edit that you might run into while you're working on your projects. So the first tip that I have is a key command that you can use when you're in list mode in your event browser and you need to expand clips that have favorites or keywords on them. So we want to go up to list mode here in your event browser, and you're going to see all of your clips here drop down into the list mode with the film strip up at the top. I'm going to switch this to the favorites view so that all of my favorited clips are listed here. Now you see all of these little carrots here on the left hand side. It's a real pain to have to go into each one and expand them over and over again. Luckily, Final Cut has a key command that you can use to expand all of them at once, so you can simply select all by hitting Command A and then hit the right arrow on your keyboard and you'll see them all expand and open up, so you can see what parts you've used, what the notes that you've put in are, what the names of your favorited clips are, what the keywords are, and you can collapse it all back down by hitting the left arrow. So just a quick little thing that saves a few steps and allows you to work a little bit better in list mode, a little bit faster in list mode, so you're not trying to spend a bunch of time opening and closing all of those clips. So the next one I learned a while back, oftentimes before I was setting up custom workspaces, moving back and forth on my laptop from one monitor to another. Final Cut would often be kind of a mess to look at. Certain windows wouldn't be open, they wouldn't be sized the way I wanted to. I was having to sort of rework everything every time I switched monitors or was working on different computers. So one window that would often not be there when I wanted it to be was the audio meters window. And I learned from someone who saw me going up through the menu to get the audio meters that there's just a simple button that you can click to pull it up. Originally I would go up to window, then I would go into show in workspaces, and then I would hit audio meters. Then there's a key command, Command Shift 8, that brings it on and off, but there's something way easier to do. So let's say it's gone and you want to bring it up. There's audio meters right here on your screen. Just tap that button and your audio meters are up. Tap it to make them disappear, tap them to bring it back. Super simple, and something that is often overlooked by even the more advanced Final Cut editors. So if you didn't know that one, like me, no big deal, but now you know. The next tip might be best for some of you who are transitioning out of Avid, Premiere Pro, or even Final Cut 7 and moving into Final Cut 10. One of the big differences in Final Cut 10 is by default there's only one viewer or preview window on the display. Not a lot of people know that you can pull up what's called the event viewer if you want to be able to see the clips from your event browser in one window and then the clips from your timeline in another. So there's 2 ways to bring that up. One way is to do show in workspace and hit event viewer. And then you can see, we'll switch out of list mode here. You can see that as you scan your clips, you're seeing them move in the event viewer on the left, but then as you come down to your timeline, you're seeing those things change on the right window. I personally don't use this method, but some people that are transitioning again might feel a little bit more comfortable having 2 windows instead of 1. I've just gotten used to the one preview window switching back and forth as I move from the event browser to the timeline. The second way that you can get that event viewer up is by hitting Control Command 3. And you can see that that toggles that back up. So another key command that's really helpful, and something I should have included in my How to Master the Magnetic Timeline video, which I'll link up above, is another way to delete clips out of your timeline without having the magnetism of the magnetic timeline affect the timing of your clips. So if you're down here in your browser and let's say you want to delete this clip and replace it with something else, but you don't want to mess up the timing of your edit, or let's say you want to preserve this clip connection here. One way to do it would be to hit Command arrow up and then hit the delete key. That's kind of an extra step. What you can do is you can hit Shift Delete and that clip goes bye-bye. So if you're in a situation where you need the magnetic timeline to step aside for a moment so that you can remove a clip from the timeline without having it expand or contract, that's all you need to do. Shift Delete and that'll bring that clip out of the primary storyline and replace it with a slug so that your timing and everything is preserved. So another key command that I've learned in the last couple of years is how to do what's called a hold frame. Before, what I would do is if I wanted to do a freeze frame on someone, I would usually pick the frame like this and then hit the Option F key, and then that would add in a freeze frame in the middle of the clip. And maybe that's a separate tip. You didn't know how to add a freeze frame, so maybe a little bonus there for you to have the Option F key command for adding a freeze frame. A hold is something that is a part of the speed ramping tools that Final Cut has, and it's a way for you to also be able to transition into a hold on a clip as opposed to just an abrupt stop, which is what the freeze frame option does. So let's say you're looking at this clip and there's some action on it and you want to be able to do a hold on the clip, and maybe you're going to like push in slowly as things get more serious, whatever it is you want to do. If you select your clip in the edit and you have your playhead where you want to make that, if you hit Shift H, you'll see that you'll insert a hold clip, and if we play it back, you can see it has a similar effect to the freeze frame method I just did. But what's nice is you can first of all control the speed, but you can also double click this edit point here and you can add a speed transition if you want. And you can bring that down.
When they want to meet the artist.
And it's not like a huge noticeable difference, but you can see that it just kind of
come to the show and they want to meet the artist.
There's that last little flick on the frame, which can be fine-tuned, but you can see that it kind of slows us into a hold frame as opposed to being just this abrupt stop and freeze. You can also click on the down arrow here and add what's called a smooth end transition, and you can see that we smoothly go into the hold frame and then smoothly back out. I don't use things like that a ton, but I do find that when I have photos that I'm putting into an edit and I want to do different, push-ins and Ken burns or whatever effects I want to do, every once in a while I need to hold on that frame as we move closer to the subject that we're talking about and have a nice hold or a freeze frame on them, and then transition out of that with maybe a cross dissolve or something like that. This is a really handy way to be able to do a freeze frame or a hold frame, but to have a little bit more options than the freeze frame method. You can transition in and out of them, adjust the speed, different things that you can do a little bit more than the freeze frame way. And this is something that I wasn't aware of until just a few years ago. So you have the freeze frame method and the hold frame method. I really like the hold frame method. This next tip is one that comes up often when I'm laying in B-roll, especially on some of my YouTube videos or videos where there's going to be sections of B-roll under an interview. A lot of times I know for sure that I am not going to use the audio in that clip, and I'm never going to need it back into that clip. So it can be annoying sometimes when you're laying in a bunch of B-roll like this and you're not going to be using the sound, but you have to go to each and every clip and turn the volume down. Or you have to select all of the video clips, and let's say these all are at 0 dB, and then you have to go up into the audio menu and drop them down to -96 to get all the volume to drop down. There's a way where you can add clips to your edit without having the audio come with it. So let's say we want to add a bunch of B-roll to this section here where we have Steve talking on camera. And we're going to go through and make these selects. We've got this clip marked with an in and out. We're going to hit Q to just add it to the top of the primary storyline. And we've got some audio in here. And let's say we don't want any of that audio to come with this clip and all of the additional selections that we make, because we don't want to have to turn down the volume on this. So what we can do is we can either click here and choose video only or audio only, or we can hit Shift 2 for a key command, and now all of the clips that we add to the primary storyline are going to come in without any audio on them. So let's pull this clip here and this clip here. And again, this is great when you know for sure that you do not want to have audio on the clips that are above, let's say, an interview. You're never going to put that audio into the edit, and it's not a big deal to be missing that audio. So let's say that you do decide, oh man, I really need the audio for that clip. I don't want to have to go hunting for it and figuring it out and reattaching it or making a compound clip with the piece of audio from that clip. It's really easy to get everything put back together. So you want to select the clip in your timeline, hit Shift F. That's going to reveal in the event browser the portion of the clip that you used. Then all you have to do is hit Option R, and it's going to replace that clip with the one that's selected in the event browser. Same thing here, Shift F. You'll see there that it's selected, and then just hit Option R, and now you've got your audio back in. So again, it's not a huge deal if you put something down in the timeline without audio and need to add it back in later. But if you do know that you're not going to use the audio, or that you at least are pretty sure you're not going to use the audio and you don't want to have to go through and kill all of the audio levels on each clip as you work through putting your B-roll in, just use the Shift 2 key command to put video only down into the timeline. If you want to do audio only, you can hit Shift 3, and then that puts your event browser into audio only mode, so that any selections that you make and put down in your timeline, like here, let's do Shift 3, and then if I hit Q, it's only going to put the audio down. So let's say you are working with a clip and there's a cool sound effect in there of a bandsaw starting up, and you want to use that as a sound effect in your edit. That's a good situation where you would just put the audio down in the timeline. Normally what you would do is you'd be in Shift 1 mode, which is audio and video. You'd hit Q, you'd have to click it, you'd detach the audio, then you would delete the video, and then you would start using that as your sound effect. Just save yourself a bunch of time. Hit Shift 3 to go to audio only mode, select the clip, hit Q, and now you've just got the audio down on your timeline much faster. The only thing you have to remember though is your event browser now is in audio only mode. So if you go on and start doing other things where you want video and audio in your timeline, or you want video only in your timeline, you have to keep track of what Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3 mode you're in. So keep in mind, Shift 1 takes you back to video and audio, which is usually the default mode that you're in when you're editing. So that's a really good tip for being able to work with B-roll where you don't want to use the audio, how to reattach audio if you bring something down in the timeline with video only. And let's say you're mining your B-roll for sound effects, how you can just bring the audio down to the timeline and not have to deal with the video. So the next tip I wasn't originally going to keep on this list, but I have found in forums and in working with other people that use Final Cut that not a lot of people know how to do this. So this trick is just how to solo a clip. Let's say you're watching through your edit and something sounds a little funny, but you need to kind of eliminate the score and some of your sound effects and other things, and you just want to listen to that one clip. Instead of selecting all of the clips and disabling them and then picking the one clip you want and re-enabling that one, there's an option to solo this clip and make it so that all you hear is this. There's two ways to do it. You can hit this button up here and it solos that clip, or you can hit Option S and solo it that way. I use this a lot when I'm going through and listening to audio and looking for blips and little weird things in it, and I just need to zero in on that one clip. Keep in mind that this is for soloing the audio, which is why it has a headphone icon on it. It doesn't keep you from being able to see some of the other video clips that are present in your timeline. It just lets you solo in on the audio aspect of that clip. It's a really handy trick, something that again I use a lot, and I was surprised that not a lot of people that I know who are working with Final Cut regularly knew about doing this. So here's another key command that comes up every once in a while. It doesn't happen a ton in narrative or documentary editing because we tend not to stack a lot of clips on top of each other. Sometimes we do if we're doing a lot of split screen stuff, or maybe we're compositing a lot of items together. On occasion, you have a bunch of clips stacked up on your timeline and you want to be able to blade all of them at the same time. So let's say we've got all these clips here stacked up and you need to be able to make an edit to every single clip all the way up and down, and you don't want to have to hit the B key and click and then click and then click and then click and then click. You're at risk of not getting it on the exact same frame, and it's just a lot more steps. But if you use this key command, you can blade everything top to bottom on your timeline all at once. So you want to move your playhead to where you want your cut to be, and then you'll hit Command Shift B to blade everything, and I mean everything. every track top to bottom. So as you can see, this does do some destruction to your audio. So in my case right here, this might be a little bit of a pain to use the Command-Shift-B, but in certain instances, maybe there's no music or audio tracks, or you know that you want to cut everything that's in your timeline along the playhead. That's a quick key command that allows you to do that. It doesn't come up very often for me, but when it does, it comes in handy to be able to hit Command-Shift-B, blade everything, instead of going one clip at a time and making sure I'm making those cuts on the playhead exactly. All right, so now we're on to our final tip, and this is one that not a lot of people know about as well. So one of my complaints about Final Cut Pro 10 is that it's not terribly easy to navigate back and forth between the different projects that you've been working on in your library. The way that you do it now is they have these left and right arrows that let you go back and forth between the different projects that you've worked on. It can be a little bit of a pain because if you want to go back 3 projects, you have to click this arrow 3 times to go back to whatever that was. And sometimes it feels like it's not in the order that you remembered that you went through, but it is. But it just feels a little bit disorienting sometimes. It's hard to explain. In Final Cut 7 and in Premiere, and I'm not sure about Avid because it's been a long time since I've been in Avid, but in Final Cut 7, they used to have tabs that showed the name of each of the different timelines, now called projects in Final Cut 10, that you had open. And you could just see quickly the name and click on that tab to be able to switch back and forth between those timelines. Well, Final Cut isn't limited to just these left and right arrows to navigate between the different projects that you've had open while you've been working. You can actually click and hold on these arrows and pull up a menu that shows you the different names of the projects that you can get to. So this shows the project that I'm in, but then 3 other projects that I can switch to. And let's say I need to get back to my rough edit V2. I can just click there and I'm back. And then let's say that I need to go back to the titles edit. This can be a way to more quickly see what projects you have open and you have been working with. And it's a little bit easier sometimes to toggle back and forth using the click and hold as opposed to just clicking back and forth left and right until you get to the project that is finally the correct one. This is one of those tips that not a lot of people know about, and it can certainly help, especially if you have a lot of projects that you've been working on as you've worked in your library. I know for some of you, these tips and tricks are common knowledge, and others of you are going to find that a lot of them were really helpful. The best thing that you can do to support the channel is to click that like button. We greatly appreciate it, of course, if you subscribed, and click the bell for notifications. Please drop a comment if you have any tips or tricks that you think we should know about. And until the next video, I'll see you all soon.